Okay, so here we are. We have our chip, which I let sit so it could cool off. Then I have my motherboard, and I performed the same operation I did on the chip with the solder wick and everything, and I did it on here, so I have a flat area to reinstall the chip. Okay, right now we're gonna put all the solder. We've taken all the bad stuff off, and now we're gonna put the good stuff, new good stuff on. I told you I'd teach you how to reball during this video, which I already have taught you how to do. Reball, you just stop at 300 degrees and you don't go past that. You let the solder get to a semi-liquid state. You don't let it get all the way to the liquid state. So that would be reflow, and I'm sorry, did I say reball? I meant to say reflow. And now this is reball. This is when you're actually re-putting solder balls on here. There, hence the name. So I'm going to take some Tacti Flux, and I'm going to put it on my finger. And I'm going to go a really light coating on here. The Tacti Flux in this case is basically being used as a glue kind of thing. That's going to melt off when we put the solder balls on. Now, the solder balls that I'm putting on are lead, and therefore it's a good idea to wear gloves. So that is what I'm going to do before I continue anymore, because apparently lead fumes make you go crazy, and I don't want to go crazy. Not that this will prevent against lead fumes, but you get the point. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to take the top part of this stencil, or the top part of the reball station, which has a stencil in it. I got this reball station for about $50. This is the one I use for Southbridge because it has less points, and this is easier to do. The one I use this one for the GPU, and this is, I take the stencil, I put it on top of there, and then I can go like that. It's better for more points and everything. So now I'm going to take the top part of the stencil, and I'm going to place it on top of it like that, so that all the solder points line up. Now I'm going to take my thing of 250,000 solder balls and pour several hundred of them, into the stencil. I'm going to leave that open. I'm going to slide this off the counter, and I'm going to go around for a second, and I'm going to pour the remainder back in there. I'm going to look and see if any extra were chilling on the grid. However, there doesn't seem to be any extra, but there seems to be a missing one on the very corner. So I'm going to put one in there. Normally you will have one or two that miss their point, or one that or one or two that stay on the chip and just don't find a hole to go into, so they just sit there between two holes, and you need to make sure you get those off, because those will fall through one of the holes and screw up the alignment of the rest of the points, because they'll fall through and hit some points and screws everything up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, all the solder balls that were at the top here, I'm going to pull them down to the side, and I'm going to go like this. I'm going to lift from the back, and I'm going to lift up like that. Now I have all my little solder balls on their points right here. Now every time I do this, because there's so many of them, one or two of the solder balls comes off its point just a little bit, and I see one right here that needs to be replaced. Put this onto the griddle. I'm going to take the board off of here. put the nozzle directly on top of here. And I'm going to take the airflow down because I don't want to blow any of those points off. I'm going to put it at 3. I'm going to turn SMD rework back on. And you can bring it back up a little bit. You'll be able to see the chip smoking, and that is all of the flux that is melting. I see a point right there that has that it might be sliding off, so I'm just going to take my toothpick and redo that point. That point right there. And it looks like there may be one point left. Okay, so now you have removed, up to this point you've removed all the lead-free solder balls and put leaded solder balls on. When you look at it, you should see every point covered in by a perfectly cylindrical, not cylindrical, circular, spherical, thank you, spherical now leaded solder ball that will take adjustments to heat much better, and that's going to prevent it from red ringing in the future. So I can take the chip off of there. I'm going to lift that back up. Where's my motherboard? My motherboard's right here. I'm going to put this back on here. And you find the chip goes this direction. If you have 2 points that are really close to each other and they end up bridging while you are reheating it up, then you're going to have to start all over again from the taking it off with a soldering iron and doing it like that, because every single point needs to be perfect. Because once you put it back on like this, that extra solder or that lack of solder, the lack of solder will not make a connection, that'll screw it up, and then the extra solder, that will expand when it's compressed, will spread out and it'll bridge points next to it. So it's just not going to work. So now we're just going to turn this back on to 400 degrees. Let it sit for about 10 minutes. Do the exact same process with this heat, and it's going to be reflowed. So thank you for watching my video. I'm going to finish reballing this, and there you go. That's how to reball this Southbridge. It's received less attention than it should. I felt that I needed to fill that space, and here we go, it's done. So thank you, and please subscribe, rate, comment, whatever you do, and see y'all later.